Welcome in to another episode of Home Field Advantage. Hope you're having a great week or weekend wherever you may be across our great country or our great land. My name is Will Highland. Of course, it is the week in between Christmas and New Year, the end of 2025. I appreciate all of you who have listened to us throughout season 7 and who have watched us on YouTube, etc. It's been a good year for sports. It's been a fun year for certain aspects of the Boston sports world as it pertains to most of my audience, right? The Red Sox make the playoffs, the Patriots are going to make the playoffs again. So it's been fun. It's been fun to see that resurgence go forward a little bit more. My plan was to do a year in review, and my hopes were maybe we'd get to some New Year's resolutions for Boston sports fans. I might save that or the second part that is, for next week. And the reason why is, I'm always somebody, I'm going to try and uh, be a straight shooter with you all. And when there's breaking news, I'm not a breaking news guy. This is not a sports news podcast. This is a commentary podcast, right? I'm not here every morning anymore giving you the news of the day and et cetera and breaking that down. Like I do a little bit of it, but most of this is about opinion, commentary, and analysis. However, when there are breaking news aspects in the sports world, I want to make you aware of them if you haven't already been aware, or if they're so current that they involve immediate change of plans and discussion, then I will do that. And in two instances, excuse me, one significant, one less significant, or less serious, I should say. This these things broke today, and I think they're important to Boston sports fans. I think they're important to my audience, and so that's where we're going to spend this program. We're going to do a little bit of change of plans. The first, of course, is the allegations surrounding Stefon Diggs. And look, like I I try to be pretty I try to be pretty unbiased when it comes to this kind of stuff. It gets really easy for people when there are allegations against somebody on your favorite team to immediately go to, hey, we got to let the legal process play out, or, quote, innocent until proven guilty, unquote. Those are rational opinions to have about normal people. Those are not rational opinions to have about public figures in the spectacle that is pro sports. We have seen time and time again that the legal process, whatever comes of it, has some or little impact on, is a player suspended? Are they able to play for their team? We've also seen franchises completely disregard some of these character questions when it comes to players. I think about 2022, November, the Boston Bruins signed this defenseman, I believe, from some amateur program, something, I forget exactly where. They signed him to a pro deal, and there were serious allegations against him for criminal bullying when he was a teenager. And the Bruins signed him anyway. And then they didn't release him until current members of the pro NHL team, like Patrice Bergeron and others allegedly, came to Cam Neely and Don Sweeney and said, "We got to get rid of this guy." And so sometimes teams will just look the other way as long as player X or player Y is good enough. And that goes not only for criminal conduct, but for other off the field situations that people may have varying opinions on. So, with all of that said, Stefon Diggs has allegedly or has been charged with allegations around, I'm not a legal guy. Like I try to be, I gave up my dream of being a sports lawyer or the next Jerry Maguire years ago. But my understanding is that there were allegations made recently within the last week to police about Stefon Diggs relating to strangulation and assault. Those are, other than rape and murder and battery, those are probably the worst violent charges I can think of. I mean, obviously, we'll take terrorism or conspiracy to commit terror out of that, but in terms of an individual, that's pretty bad. And so you see that and you immediately jump. Okay, and I'm going to read straight from the horse's mouth from Mike Reese of ESPN. He covers the team very closely. He is very reliable. He has very good sources within the team. And I should also note that the Patriots put out a statement saying they're backing him and that they're not going to have any further comment because it is an ongoing legal matter. And I respect that, right? This is from Mike Reese from ESPN. He said New England Patriots wide receiver Stefon Diggs is facing a felony charge of strangulation and a misdemeanor charge of assault from an alleged incident on December 2nd. A motion hearing took place Tuesday morning, that's today, at Dedham, Massachusetts District Court. His arraignment is scheduled for January 23rd, which is the Friday before the AFC Championship game. According to a police report, and this police report has been made public somehow. I'm not quite sure how. Maybe it was part of court documents. I'm not a legal expert. I watched 9 seasons of Suits, but I'm not a scholar of any means. But reading Mike Reese, it says, quote, according to a police report, a woman went to police on December 16th and shared that she was working as a private chef on the date of the incident in question when Diggs entered her unlocked bedroom and allegedly smacked her across the face after they had discussed money owed to her. Further, according to police, she said she attempted to push Diggs away when he allegedly tried to blah 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 choke her, and it gets pretty graphic, and I don't really want to get into the weeds there because again, as Maurice pointed out, as several others have pointed out, it's an allegation, right? And everybody has their day in court, hopefully, in this country. Um, as I continue reading, the attorney for Stefon Diggs is a man named David Meyer, and he says the claims are unsubstantiated. Now, this could very well be true. I mean, the ultimate fact right now is that nobody knows. And if it's true, then he should be suspended and kicked off the team and probably face jail time. That will probably be up to a jury, likely, um, or whatnot, or maybe a settlement. I'm not sure. But I mean, that's one. And the other side is, well, if it's not true, then he got his name dragged through the mud. So I don't know where the grain of truth is in here. But I think it's irresponsible, before I continue reading from David Meyer, I think it's irresponsible for people who are Patriot fans to act like it's not a big deal, which I haven't seen a lot of. I've seen some of it. You can say, let's let the legal course or let the legal action run its course or whatever. You can say that. But this is people's lives. This is not a victimless crime, right? I mean, this is serious stuff if it's true. So you can't really say that. You also can't say that we have to let it run its course because the NFL doesn't care about the legal process outside of they employ him. If you work for McDonald's and have criminal allegations, a felony and a misdemeanor, mind you, if you have criminal allegations against you, McDonald's will fire you. And the general manager of McDonald's is not going to, quote, wait for the legal process to sit out. they're going to fire you. And yes, he is an employee of the Patriots. The Patriots are backing him, but the league, the commissioner has an exempt list. You can't play. That's what that means. So we have to be careful with how often we lean on the legal proceedings when it comes to pro athletes. Because in the NFL, that means diddly squat. It means nothing what the legal proceedings do. The league, and in terms of him playing or not playing. So there's that aspect, which I just want to drive home. So look, I don't want to spend too much more time on it. It's a serious thing. I hope it's not true because number one, like I've kind of grown to like Stefon Diggs. I used to hate him. When he was on Minnesota, I hated him. I thought he was a jerk. He threw his helmet after that famous catch against the Saints in the playoffs and, could have hurt somebody. And he threw it in celebration. And then he had some things with the Bills, and I don't really know, nothing like criminal of like this to this degree. But then as he came to the Patriots, I was skeptical, and then I kind of grew to like him. But it's stuff like this that makes you scratch your head and wonder, well, gosh, we kind of knew there was a personality problem here. But again, it's all hearsay. We have to see what, as far as judging him as a person, we do, yes, have to see what the legal courtroom drama comes out to be, you know. But the NFL doesn't care about that. If they see any wind at the back that he could even have a sniff of guilt, he will be suspended. Okay. Now I'll just close with the statement um, by David Meyer, the attorney, and then I'll close with a statement from the Patriots because I like to stick to facts, right? There's a lot of speculation here. I like to stick to facts. The lawyer says, quote, Stefon Diggs categorically denies these allegations. These are unsubstantiated, uncorroborated, and were never investigated because they did not occur. The timing and motivation for making the allegations is crystal clear. They are the direct result of an employee-employer financial dispute that was not resolved to the employee's satisfaction. St Stefan is Stefan looks forward to establishing the truth in a court of law, Meyer said. And that's a good statement from a lawyer, right? That's what lawyers are supposed to do. They drive the narrative a different way. And when the truth comes out, we'll talk about it. But the Patriots said, quote, we support Stefan. I don't know why I can't speak tonight. It goes on to say, we'll continue to gather information and will cooperate fully with the appropriate authorities and the NFL as necessary. Out of respect for all parties involved, and given that this is an ongoing legal matter, we will have no further comment at this time. And I really don't have a further comment either. I've seen some people who are anti-patriots online, and I guess this will be my last comment, act like this is a good thing, right? Make a joke about him being a leader, because a lot has been made about him being a vocal leader. And I've seen a lot of people who are anti-patriots on Twitter, people with jobs in the sports industry, right? Who are what scratching their heads and saying some of the same things I have, but saying them with a bigger mouthpiece, right, than I have. And, about him, we not liking him and then realizing that he had character problems and then sort of making a assumption of guilt based on his past. And I'm trying not to do that because, again, this is America. However, if you are going because you don't like this, and this goes back to the opposite of what I first said, which is when you like a player because he's on your team, you're willing to start to say things like, we gotta let the legal process do. You know what the opposite is? The opposite is if he's somebody who's not on your team or who's on a rival team, and you start to say things that make it sound like, oh, well, of course he's guilty, or you imply guilt because you don't like the person or you don't like the player. And I've done this before too. It's hard. You first have to remove the log from your own eye before you take a speck out of your neighbor's, right? If you're doing that and you're doing it publicly, You're not doing it about somebody who was drunk driving and got pulled over and nobody was harmed. People could have been harmed, but nobody was harmed. If this scenario was true, somebody was harmed. And if you're making a joke out of it, then you should be ashamed of yourself. And that'll be my final comment. All right, the other major news story. No, around these parts, it's not getting the same amount of traction, of course. But Mike Hazen, who is the general manager of the Arizona Diamondbacks, said in a statement today with MLB.com that he expects the Ketel Marte trade discussion, rumor mill, what have you, to be resolved shortly. Well, it's been going on for a while, and I think it's the first domino to fall in the later half of the offseason. Because if the Diamondbacks are willing to trade Ketel Marte, then to me, it's unlikely that they're going to go get Alex Bregman. I think if you're going to go get Alex Bregman, you're keeping Marte and you're going full in on the offseason. You're going, we are in a division with the Dodgers, the Giants, the Padres. Sorry, Colorado. Those three teams consistently spend money, consistently try and win. And we've seen Arizona double down on some of the members of their roster. Was it Merrill Kelly or was it Zach Gallen? I think Merrill Kelly was traded. It was Zach Gallen, right? If I'm not mistaken, who was re-signed about the team. Ketel Marte, if he stays, that makes it likely that they're going to go get Alex Bregman because I think they load up. Because the National League, as outside of the West, right? You're not going to have. It's very unlikely that you're going to have four teams from the same division make the playoffs. Because of the fact that they're all going to, in order for them to be good enough, they're going to have to beat up on each other, or somebody like the Rockies is going to have to be historically bad again, and so is another handful of teams in the National League, right? So, like if there are six teams that make the playoffs, and you get the NL East winner, the NL Central winner, and four from the NL West, I would be vastly shocked. So, if Arizona really wants to be that team, maybe they can jump over the Padres who sound like they want to sell. Or you could jump over the Giants who, you know, were okay last year, that they petered out at the end and gave up their chance at the playoffs, despite making the big move for Devers in June. Uh, if Arizona wants to do that, they need to do it fully, right? And trading Ketel Marte would not help you do that because if you trade Marte, you're going to trade him to a contender, and that contender, whether it's the Red Sox, Yankees, Blue Jays, or the hot teams in the AL that everyone's talking about, could be the Mariners, where he spent early part of his career. Although I doubt he goes back there. Those teams are not going to give up any major league talent for Ketel Marte that they think is going to be crucial to their success. Like the Red Sox, for example, would not give up. I don't think the Red Sox would give up Marcelo Meyer and Willie Abreu or Jaron Duran in that trade. It would be a major league player and a prospect and another prospect and another prospect. You're not going to get two or three major league players who are going to be valuable to one team traded for Ketel Marte. Not at that age. Not at age 33 for Marte. I just don't see it. The Red Sox aren't going to trade Brian Bayo and Willie Abreu for Ketel Marte. At least I wouldn't do that. So that's sort of the background. The quote from Hazen says, I haven't figured that out yet when asked, referring to an exact time frame on a resolution. He went on to say, quote, but this isn't going to continue to linger. We need to focus our offseason. Again, my gut this whole time was that a trade for Marte of Marte wasn't going to happen. And I think it seems likely that that's the case, and we want to focus on other things we need to do. So that sort of reiterates my initial thought. He says it's going to happen shortly, and he says he doesn't want it to linger. He says they need to focus their offseason. Does that mean put the best offer possible on Alex Bregman? Because I think they've done that already. I think they have an offer on the table, and I don't think Bregman's taking it because I think he wants to be a Red Sox. I think he might have an offer out there from the Tigers. He probably has an offer out there from the Diamondbacks. And a guy who's from New Mexico, who's played the first half of his career in Houston, Texas, he's a Southwest guy. The Red Sox better be careful because if Hazen's crystal ball is that he's just toying around waiting for the perfect trade for Ketel Marte, that's not going to happen and that's resolved, then it's already resolved. If he says it's going to resolve shortly and that he doesn't want to trade him and that he doesn't think it's going to happen and that he doesn't want to be unfocused in the offseason, he doesn't want to be distracted. If that's true, then this whole business about, oh, well, maybe he'll be traded. He's probably not going to be. If the GM is outwardly saying, we want it resolved shortly and it's going to happen shortly, we don't want to trade him and we need to focus our offseason, that means he's not going to be traded. That's like you asking your mom, Mom, can we go out for ice cream? And her answer instead of no is, well, I don't think we should do that. Maybe, but probably not. And you think, oh, well, I want to do it. And she says, well, I don't think that's going to happen. I went into today planning it wasn't going to happen. And, we need to focus our attention on dinner. You would be irrational to stand there and say, oh, well, maybe I'll get ice cream tonight. You're not getting ice cream, right? And the Red Sox fans are not getting Ketel Marte. So if my hypothesis is true, which is that they're not trading him after reading this article, and that it's going to make them more likely to sign Alex Bregman, then the Red Sox need to put a better offer on the table. They need to go to his agent, which I believe is Boris, and they need to say, hey, uh, whatever Arizona's offering, add 20 million to it. How badly do you want the player? How badly do you want the player? Because if Bo Bichette is your backup plan, that's fine. He's younger. I like him. But Bo Bichette in Boston is an unknown. Alex Bregman in Boston is a known. Alex Bregman's played in what? 6 ALCSs? Something like that. Bo Bichette went to the World Series this year. I know he had that great home run. That was kind of it. Like, a known commodity in Boston is Alex Bregman. I like Bo Bichette. I'd be happy with Bo Bichette. But Alex Bregman's a known commodity. So you have to wonder and look at it and say, in a vacuum, you're probably only getting one other big bat this offseason, if you get any at all, if you're a Sox fan. And if Marte stays in Arizona, to me, it's more likely that the Arizona buzz around Bregman is true, which means he could be off the board. And now who are you competing with? You're competing with everybody else for Bo Bichette and for any other big name bat. That includes Suarez or anyone else. And they've already missed out on Pete Alonso and Kyle Schwarber. I don't know. I don't know about you, but going into an offseason where I wanted Joe Ryan and Pete Alonso, and I might end up with Sonny Gray and Wilson Contreras. And Breslow has yet to really make a big trade outside the Crochet trade that I like. And he's yet to really make a trade with anyone but Chaim Bloom this offseason. I'm a little skeptical. But there's still a lot of time left in the offseason to check it all out. All right, last story. And this is sort of a weird one. Uh, we've known for a while that college sports are dead. College sports are dead. They're over. And I don't really know the particulars of this instance. Um, like before today, I was not an expert on this particular story, but like it drives home a thought that I've had for quite some time, which is that the college sports landscape in the last 4 to 5 years has completely fallen off a cliff, and we've opened Pandora's box, and you can use whatever other analogy you want to use. I remember on this program in season three, I think, saying I was in favor of NIL because I thought uh, college athletes were going to be able to market themselves for the sports that they played, and I believe that that was important. I believe that that was part of the individual liberty we have as Americans, is that if you have a talent that is God-given, that is giving you an opportunity in the future to make millions of dollars professionally, then while you're an amateur, you should be able to market yourself in a way that allows you to make money if your talent is making money for the university. That was the promise of NIL. In college football, in college hockey, in college basketball, especially, NIL has taken over basketball and football. And it has the CHL situation with Canadian juniors and the NCAA has completely thrown college hockey into a ringer. And I'm not a big college basketball fan, but this leads me to my story that I didn't know a ton about, which is that there's supposedly a player who was drafted, who is drafted in the NBA, who is going to uh, end up uh, playing for Baylor this year. And I first learned about this morning when I was watching FS1, and I had to look it up. So I'm gonna read you some details here. Um, but this particular player, um, his name is James Nagy, and he I believe was drafted. I'm trying to find out. Um, for trying to find out who he was drafted by. He's oh, I can't find it. But anyway, like there's this big whole thing about it on CBS Sports that I followed up and read, but I'm not gonna read you I've already read too much today for you guys. Again, these are all news stories today, right? That I've been talking about. We've completely taken up my agenda and thrown it in the trash. But this player, James Nagy, right? Drafted professionally, played professionally in Europe, now is returning mid-season, declared eligible to play for Baylor. We also have a similar situation in college hockey where a ECHL player, and of course the ECHL just got over their strike, uh, is going to end up playing college hockey as well. So we have a situation where pro players, players who have made money in that sport, are now going to go play in college after. I am old enough to remember when you couldn't even wink at somebody at a restaurant if you were a scout or an agent or a coach and you saw a player at a restaurant. You couldn't even say hi to him without an alleged tampering, recruiting violation, etc. John Harbaugh had serious allegations when he was leaving Michigan about this exact thing, practically. So, and by exact thing, I mean like not respecting amateurism or what have you in recruiting. Now we legitimately have colleges recruiting professional players and those professional players showing up in college and playing for their teams. We have a transfer portal in college football where you no longer have to wait a year. It's essentially free agency with no restrictions. In the NFL, at least there's a franchise tag and there's contracts that you have to honor. There's no commitment or honor in college sports. There's none. And the NCAA, led by former Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker, has allowed this to happen. They've just opened the box and said, "Yeah, we don't really care because we're getting money. We are a cartel." And it is disgusting. And it's not disgusting because I don't think players should be compensated, and I don't think that there should be some agency among young athletes, especially ones that have immense talent that are generating revenue for universities. I'm not against that. I'm a capitalist. But when you pride yourselves for centuries on being amateur sports at its pinnacle, and you are just literally taking a machete to every norm, every value that you've ever claimed that you stood for, then I have a problem with hypocrisy, not capitalism, right? And I get it. Those things are intertwined, believe me. But I have a problem with the high and mighty attitude that the NCAA held for most of my life up until the last 5 years. And now they're looking the other way and essentially letting professional players take over college sports. We talk a lot about the sanctity of sports and other aspects of our culture. I'm not going to go there. I think we all know what I'm talking about. People have a lot of opinions on that. I'm talking about the sanctity of sports in uh, in this aspect, which is if you truly believe in the integrity of sports, of college sports, of amateur sports, and you're allowing this to happen, what kind of what kind of uh what kind of landscape are we leaving for the future? Like people get mad when Lane Kiffin left Ole Miss for whatever college he went to. I'm now forgetting which one. LSU. Thank you. Ole Miss for LSU. Oh my God. Well, as I said, this is the situation that's been allowed to unravel, and this is the natural outgrowth. There's two things that I've been against in sports since they began. Number one is gambling. I'm not going to go down that road. You guys all know how I feel about that. I'm not in favor of sports gambling. If you want to do that on your own time, that's great. I don't think the league should be getting in bed with the gambling companies. And so far, I've been proven right. I've been proven right about that because pretty much every major sports league has had a gambling scandal. The second thing I've been critical of is not NAL, not the transfer portal, but the lack of accountability within college sports to stop this. I said back in 2021, if you're gonna let this go, then there's gonna need to be some guardrails put in place and some implementation of checks and balances. I've been listening to an audiobook about the founding fathers. They sat around for a decade and talked about how to build this government in our country because they didn't want a government where one man need be afraid of another. They wanted essentially a slow moving government that was resistant to coups and anarchy. The college sport landscape has become anarchy. The NCAA is just sitting there. People don't understand. The NCAA is just a bunch of athletic directors on temporary appointments from schools across the country. So they're going to do what all their other athletic director buddies want to do. It's not some, Order of the Phoenix type crap where everyone sits around at a table and makes huge decisions. Like that's and it's people from like government or something. Like these are just people who are part of the problem. It's the same reason why the owners in the NFL collude all the time because they're 32 billionaires in a room. It's not the NFL is not, some like board of directors. Like the board is the people who are are involved. Like that's why they're a cartel corporation just like everybody else. And I like business. But I thought Clay Travis said it best actually. Let's see if I can find that here. Um, oh, I thought I bookmarked it. I want to just read his tweet verbatim and then I'll probably wrap up the show here. Um, Okay, where are we going? He's just tweeting so much. Okay, here he goes. He says, quote, pro hockey players are now playing college hockey. Legitimately, any former pros are now eligible to play college sports. This is beyond absurd, but here we are. Someone could sign Luca or LeBron for college basketball. Yes. And this is after a tweet from Darren Heitner, who, I brought up the Baylor basketball example. This is the hockey example. The NCAA appears to also be granting eligibility to former pro hockey players, including Mats Lindgren, a 2022 fourth round NHL draft pick who played pro in the ACHL and the AHL, has been added to Colorado College's roster. He never appeared in an AHL game, but the precedent continues to expand. This would be if you can play in the AHL and the ECHL and go back and play in college. This is like a AAA player who doesn't make the big leagues, who still has NCAA eligibility, say, "Hey, actually, I want to go back and play Division III baseball." And what are they going to say? No, because the precedent is that you can now do that. And to Clay Travis's point, I know the AHL and the NHL are not the same thing. The G League and the NBA are not the same thing. AAA and Major League Baseball are not the same thing. Allegedly, college sports and the NFL are not the same thing. But like, if you can play at the second highest level of professional sport and then go back and play in college, then why can't you play at the highest level of that professional sport? Who's to say that the NHL is the highest level of hockey? Maybe I know on paper it is. It has the most revenue generated, but could the best AHL team beat the worst NHL team in a 5 game series? Maybe. I don't know. There are guys on AHL teams who are on NHL contracts. There are guys who are on AAA baseball teams who are on the 40-man roster of their big league club. There are G League players who are on two-way deals who end up playing in the NBA in the same season. So it's all a complete Wild West anarchy, lawless situation run by a corrupt, greedy organization, which is the NCAA. They used to stand for something. They have now become just another corrupt sports league looking for a dollar. It used to be that we kind of all knew that they were greedy, but we still thought and believed and felt that we were fans and that they would do the best for us. But now they've completely just opened Pandora's box. We're no longer the end customer. And the reason why I still sit here and do a sports podcast is because somebody has to say these things. You're not going to hear it from the major, the major voices in sports. Like you're not going to hear Stephen A. Smith talk about it. And if he does, I and I see the clip, I will come on here and admit it. But there's a reason why I first heard about it on Wake Up Barstool while I was channel surfing. It's because it's the organic sports guys, people like myself, people like Camp, people like Kyle, who look at this and it does not pass the smell test. So it's frustrating, but that's all I really have to say about that. All right. Um, I wanted to talk NFL playoff picture, but I'm running out of time here, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Um, we don't have much time left in 2025. I don't want you to spend all your time listening to my sports takes. But it's pretty simple. You go into the last week of the season. I thought we were going to end up with an NFC South winner take all. We are. Um, Tampa didn't beat Miami, but then Carolina didn't beat Seattle. So here we are. Uh, Tampa and Carolina play for the division in Raymond James Stadium on Saturday afternoon. And then Saturday night, you're going to have Seattle and San Francisco are going to play each other. Um, uh, Now that's going to be really fun. Um, I just need to find the playoff machine here. Um, yeah, I want to look at week 18 here and I want to put in, I know I'm rambling, but I think, yes, Seattle and San Francisco are playing with the 1 seed at stake. So whoever wins that game has control over the one seed because um, even if because um, Chicago lost to San Francisco last week in that amazing game. San Francisco would hold a tiebreaker over Chicago that would put them in the one seed, and because Seattle uh, has a better record than the Rams, because the Rams lost to Atlanta on Monday night. Sorry, Diesel. Uh, that game on Saturday night in prime time is for the number one seed, which is awesome. That's a rivalry from my childhood and from my teenage years that is coming back, and that will be fun to watch. So not only do you have Panthers Bucks, you also have Seahawks Niners, two huge NFC matchups. The winner will get the one seed in San Francisco and Seattle. The loser will get the five, and then in Tampa and Carolina, the winner will get the four, and the loser will be out of the playoffs. Very awesome stuff. You then on Sunday have the big uh, tilt between the Ravens and the Steelers. Okay. The winner of Ravens Steelers will make the playoffs. The loser will not. Because Baltimore took care of Green Bay and because Pittsburgh couldn't get it done their final weeks. Aaron Rodgers looks lost with no help up there. That game will be for a playoff spot. So we have three games that will decide divisions, and we have two games of those three that will decide playoff spots. That's really fun. As far as the rest of the AFC is concerned, the teams are all set. It's a matter of seeding, right? New England needs a win against Miami and a Denver loss against the Chargers. The Chargers are no longer playing for the division. It's been noted that they're going to rest Justin Herbert. So I find it unlikely that the Denver Broncos are going to lose. Therefore, the Patriots, as long as they win, will have the one seed. We'll see if they're playing without Stefon Diggs or not. There's still a lot of week left to figure that out. But Stefon Diggs or not, the Patriots will need to beat the Dolphins in order to maintain the two seed and control their destiny. Otherwise, it opens a door for Jacksonville, who is playing the Titans. Again, a winnable game probably for the Jags to steal the two seed and send the Pats to the three. Now, Jacksonville, if they win and the Patriots lose, the Patriots drop to three. They'd host the Chargers as long as the Chargers continue. Sorry, I said that wrong. If the Chargers lose to the Broncos, which I believe they do, and the Patriots lose, it is more likely that the Patriots will play the Buffalo Bills in the wild card round, which I would not enjoy. um, the Bills, of course, need to beat the Jets, but it looks like I could beat the Jets. So the Bills are going to hang out there. Um, Now, if the Bills beat the Jets, it's also likely that they end up the five. So essentially, the Patriots just need to win to maintain the two. Then they're going to end up probably playing the Houston Texans or the Los Angeles Chargers. But in order to get the Chargers, which I believe is the best method to get past the wild card round, because they are banged up and they're playing without their best left tackle or best tackles, including Joe Alt. The Patriots need to win because otherwise you're going to play the Bills or the Texans, and I don't like the Texans pass rush, excuse me, and I don't like the way the Bills play the Pats late in the year with Josh Allen. I without Diggs possibly I don't like that scenario. So I know that was a lot right there for you to handle, um, but right now that's what the playoff picture is looking like. Looks like Seattle, San Francisco, winner's going to take the one. Green Bay is kind of locked in at the seven. Chicago's kind of locked in at the two. That's going to be a pretty fun thing to check out. Uh, that would be a great division matchup. And then you're going to get Rams, Eagles, some teams that have won a Super Bowl recently. And then you're going to get the loser of Seattle, San Fran traveling to the winner of Carolina, Tampa. And that will be fun too. But we have a lot. We'll check in next week with everything else. I appreciate you tuning into this long iteration of the program. Thanks for bearing with me as I cover some breaking news. I wish you all a happy new year in 2026. We'll get back to you probably later in the weekend after it's all settled. Maybe we'll do some New Year's resolutions as well. I appreciate you tuning in for season 7 of the program throughout 2025. As always, you can follow us online at Homefield Pod on Instagram and Twitter. We have some exciting things coming for you in 2026, including merch. So we hope you'll all stay tuned to that. But until then, my name is Will Highland, and this has been a special end of the year episode of Home Field Advantage.